I could feel my throat closing up. I couldn't breathe. A warm, dark smell brushed against my face. It took me a moment to recognize the coppery tang of blood. An icy bolt of fear ran down my spine, crawling its way out into my limbs and freezing me in place. I was terrified. What was I going to do? What could I do? You have to run, Chizuru. I forced my jaw open and drew a ragged breath. This was the only chance I'd get. I had to. But my body, still numb with fear, was less than responsive. I lurched sideways into the woods, stacked against the building with a rough clatter. It collapsed. Oh dear. Oh, they do get pictures. Not nice ones either. Not cute boy face pictures. They get scary, vampire-like fanged pictures. Oh dear. The creatures turned, their blue coats drenched in blood. Hideous grins split their inhuman faces, and they shook with animal excitement at finding fresh prey to slaughter. Huh? Short game. I had to run. I couldn't die yet, but my legs refused to move. That hideous, cackling laughter began again. I was going to die. My body was frozen with terror. I couldn't even scream. This was it. It's the end. Watched them raise their bloody swords, the moon glinting off the metal. Then there was a flash of light and a soft splash of blood. I could feel it, warm and sticky. Bile began to rise in my throat, but before disgust took hold, I heard a voice. Really? The words suggested disappointment, but the voice sounded happy. And here I was, planning to take care of them all on my own. Couldn't you have picked another day to work so fast, Saito? As he spoke, the strange man smiled, almost as if he were enjoying himself. I only did my job. Unlike you, I take no pleasure in battle. Well, that's not a very nice thing to say. He laughed. You don't even bother to deny it. The man called Saito sighed with the air of a long-suffering companion and looked over at me. Maybe if you just sat back and let them kill her, you could have saved us some trouble. The tone was light, but his words confirmed my fears. I had left the frying pan, yes, but I was now in the fire. The flames of cute boy faces. Excellent, just where we planned. Perhaps that decision is not ours to make. Then there was someone in charge of these two? Conversation seemed to suggest they were part of an organization of some sort, as I thought about it. I remember hearing stories of a group of men with blue coats. This would have been nice a while ago. How about the story of the men with the blue coats that we already knew of? My thoughts were interrupted by a dark shape sliding to view. Ah, this is the guy that's in charge. This guy's gotta be in charge. Ooh. I swallowed hard. Moonlight shone off his smooth, dark hair. For reasons I couldn't fathom in that moment, the light on his hair made me think of fluttery flower petals. Almost as if the cherry trees were blooming out of season. Luck is not your friend tonight. His voice was cold and quiet, like a blade of ice. There we go. Blue-white moonlight lit his slender face and shone from the blade he held pointed at my chest. But it wasn't the sword that made my breath catch in my throat. It was him. It was his eyes. Eee! Here we go. They were fierce and hard, but somewhere behind them I could catch a glimpse of something else. Probably gas. There could be no doubt that he was prepared to kill me, and yet he looked troubled. Not kindness, but perhaps mercy? Run, and I will kill you. Do you understand? I nodded. There was no doubt he'd meant every word he said. He stared at me for a moment and grimaced, and with a sigh put his sword away. What? I was too surprised to stop myself from speaking, and it quickly became apparent that I wasn't the only one. What? Wait. Hijikata, are you sure about this? This kid saw, well, everything. That can't be good. As he spoke to the man he called Hijikata, his eyes narrowed. Hijikata frowned back at him. Shut up. If you keep that up, you know what we're gonna have to do. I wasn't quite sure what they meant, but it's clear enough that what I'd seen was something they did not want me to see. Still, the more they said, the more I understood, despite the fact that none of us wanted such a thing. I really think this is gonna come back to bite us in the ass if we let this kid go. The way he looked at me made me feel as if he'd read my mind. perhaps it'd be the best if I didn't think too hard about what things I wasn't supposed to think about. So we should just kill people so they don't bother us later? No, I'll decide what we're gonna do with this kid when we get back. I agree with the commander. If we remain here, we are likely to be seen again. The man they'd called Saito spoke with quiet confidence. He glanced around, possibly looking for other witnesses. Then he looked down at the creature he'd killed, almost as though he'd forgotten the whole ordeal. If they have this sort of reaction to blood, then they don't seem like they'll be very practical. Damn. I didn't think they'd gotten this bad. He peered down at the corpse, his face an emotionless mask. When he looked back at his companions, however, his eyes narrowed. As for you two, drop the Hijikata and commander stuff. We're supposed to be keeping a low profile. What? Come on, you can't be serious. You don't think our blues are a bit of a giveaway already? He was right. Even I had heard stories about a gang of cruel men in blue coats who cut people down in the streets. But then again, anyways, no, don't think. Just ignore him. Ignore him. It'll be fine. Just stop thinking about it. Did my best to be stern with myself, but it came out sounding more pleading than commanding. My mind swirled with thoughts and worries. A world where there is nothing strange in carrying on a normal conversation in the dead of night with corpses for company. In a world. What should we do with the bodies then? There doesn't seem to be any physical signs, but... Hijikata thought for a moment before he spoke. Oh, it's Hijikata. There we go. Just take their blues. Yamazaki can deal with the rest. As you wish. Another man cut down in the street, huh? Doing a great job, aren't we? Give it a derisive bark of laughter. So long as we keep our mouths shut, I don't think anyone will connect us with this. He looked directly at me when he spoke, and I got the distinct feeling that his words weren't for his companions. It was common for people to be murdered in Kyoto. That's just common, you know. Someone's just like, oh, walking down the street and then murder. Oops, accidentally murdered a dude. Can't walk two places while I got this sword on my side. Oh god, murder everywhere. It's a dangerous city after all. I knew that, of course. Me being from the country. Yerk, yerk, yerk. But to see it happen, that's something else entirely. If death was such an easy thing in Kyoto, I thought, then the city itself must surely be mad. Dramatic much, jeez. Ah, yeah. We did save you, didn't we? Aren't you gonna thank us? But didn't realize immediately that he was speaking to me. When I did, my eyes went wide. What do you mean you saved me? Well, he did have a point. Despite their threats, they had saved my life. I stood up as steadily as I could manage, brushed some of the dirt off my clothes, and bowed. Thank you very much. I apologize for not thanking you earlier. I was, so much going on, I was a little confused. Glanced up at them tentatively. The man called Saito was showing some confusion of his own. His eyes went wide. He had an expression I couldn't place. Hijikata looked as though he'd taken a bite of something sour. Maybe they weren't expecting a girl? Or not? I'm not sure. I know it seems weird to say that, but he told me I should say thanks, so... Maybe they're just perturbed that I can actually speak or something? I don't know. That I'm thanking someone who just killed someone in cold blood? I got nothing. Looked up. Way up. Saito and Hijikata were both looking pointedly at anything but me, and the third man was shaking with laughter. Oh man. Well, my apologies. I certainly did tell you to, didn't I? Broke out in laughter again, so much that he was forced to wipe a few tears from his eyes as he straightened up. Well, you're welcome. I'm Soji Okita. Nice to see a kid who knows how to be polite. Thank you for helping me. Not quite sure what else to do. I bowed again. What the hell do you think you're doing, Okita? Commander, I understand your concerns, but we must move. Whatever mirth I might have inspired gone, the man called Saito spoke with quite urgency. Hijikata nodded. The man who called himself Okita grabbed a hold of my wrist, gave me a smile, and began to lead me down the street. I gotta go walking down the street after killing some guys. His grip was a touch too tight to be friendly, his fingers like iron cables around my arm. There was no question about my situation. If I ran, I would die. Quickly, at least, but still. Death, not necessarily what I'm looking for. Even if I did as I was told, my life was in the hands of these strange men. I set my jaw and stood up as straight as I could. My eyes met those of Saito as he looked up from the blood-stained coat. It would be best if you prepared for the worst. I doubt this will end well for you. His words were like a dagger in my stomach. What was going to happen to me? Was I going to die later? I mean, I was pretty much considering my death about 5 minutes ago, but now I can consider it again. Reconsider it. As we walked through the cold Kyoto night, I felt horror begin to crawl its way up my spine once again. The cause of my horror wasn't the gruesome end that almost certainly awaited me, but something else entirely. The cause of my horror was cute boys with swords. Oh no! Spoken with these men, and watched them speak to one another, not feet from a still warm corpse soaked in blood. That I had done such a thing terrified me in an altogether different way. What kind of monster have I become? Conversing with men who kill? Perhaps I thought this is what it's like to go mad. Welcome to a whole new world. Chapter 1. Dawn of a new day, in a new world full of murder! Ah. Hey! We survived the night! We survived the night of an entire dating sim. How improbable! Was it morning? What had happened to me? Ah, yes. Right. I am discussing, I'm having a conversation with the narrator and with the main character, apparently. All at once, the events of the previous night rushed back. If only this was my room, I thought. They had tied me up quite well. So all I could do was wriggle around in my bed, twisting the blankets around me. I wished, pointlessly, I know, that I were back home, waking up on my warm futon. And not being tied up. If only this were all a very strange nightmare. Oh, she's just such a, like, Disney main character. But it was not. I had met those men the night before. They had taken me with them. I don't know, I feel like she just needs to, like, fill silence with her own voice sometimes. It's got kind of like that daydreamy quality, Wizard of Oz kind of thing going on. And then, like, I feel like the narrator is just, like, letting her go on with this. The narrator's enabling her fantasy in a weird way. To the headquarters of the Shinsengumi. What will happen to me now? I sighed and lay down to await my fate. It was at that moment that the door slid open and a kind-looking man stepped through. I see you've woken up. With a soft smile, he introduced himself as Inoue. I'm sorry to have to treat you this way. Hold on a moment, I'll loosen the ropes, alright? His smile quirked as he removed my ropes, working quickly and skillfully. My wrists, however, were left bound. Thank you. I bowed and he let out a short laugh. Now, if you'll follow me. They've been discussing what to do with you since morning. For now, they've decided to hear what exactly it was you saw last night. Okay. That's cool. I nodded and did my best to stand up. My body is still a bit unsteady after being tied up all night. The man who called himself Inoue was very polite and almost kind. Almost. But it was quite clear that I was to do as I was told. He must have been able to guess my thoughts because he smiled at me and winked. You don't need to worry. I know they seem scary, but they're all really very nice. Oh. Wasn't sure what to think of that. Even at home, I'd heard rumors of the vicious Shinsengumi. They weren't pleasant rumors. It was very hard to imagine that the people in charge of such an organization were nice. Ah yes, the life of organized crime. Once you're in, you're family. But on the outside, you're dead. You're nothing. Inui led me to a room and opened the door. Stepped inside and found myself surrounded by the leaders of the Shinsengumi. Excellent! So here will be all of our characters at once, in which I will do my best to start trying to voice all of them. Have to try to dig, it's like digging niches into each of their voices. We will do our best! Bear with me for the first few episodes.